Alright guys, Paulmartinbelts back here again with a brand new video. This is going to be a bit of a different video than I traditionally do. This is just going to be me talking at the camera and giving my opinion on the new UFC Legacy Belt that was recently debuted. If you haven't seen it, here's a photo of the new belt. This belt was debuted this past week, and I had a lot of people asking me kind of my opinions on it, what I thought of it as a kind of belt designer, belt maker, and I figured it would just be easier to do a kind of run through on camera. Go through each of the points that UFC have signified is a design element for this belt and just kind of give my opinions on it, if I like it and if I think it could be improved. So that's what this is going to be. So we'll start off with the actual big banner picture they revealed, giving each of the design elements. I think there's 10 or so points, 10 or 11 points that they went through on this picture, showing what I think some are overkill and some are really cool. So we'll start off. The first point is the logo. It says the UFC logo in the middle is made of high polished gold. The pattern underneath the logo is comprised of octagons and squares. The octagon has 25 lines to represent 25 years, and the square has 8 lines to represent the 8 sides of the octagon. Now, I gotta be honest, I like this pattern. If you look behind the UFC logo, I think it's a really smart looking design. It's traditional on these type of belts that the UFC logo being in gold, you would traditionally have the background, if you're wanting it textured or to stand out, you would have it in nickel or painted in even, so the logo would stand out. What I actually love about this belt is it's gold on gold, and yet the logo pops fantastically. It's not something I've really seen much before, because traditionally, like I said, you'd expect the pattern to be nickel, or you'd expect to be painted, but to have it gold on gold and to have the logo pop as much as it does, I really love. And the pattern itself, I really love as well. I think the idea behind it is way overkill. I think I saw a great comment when I posted this picture on Instagram, and it was, this is a belt designed by committee. And I think that is the best way to describe this, because basically people have sat down and thought, how many things to do with 25 years of UFC, how many things to do with UFC in general can we cram into this belt? And I think that is the wrong way to go about designing a belt. But on the first point of the logo, I do really like it. I like the way the gold logo stands out from the background, and the fact that it's gold, I think looks really cool. It's definitely a unique element, and I really do like that element to it. Next point is the stones. The UFC Legacy Championship belt was unveiled following the organization's silver anniversary year. The 25 stones represent 25 years of UFC. I like that idea behind it. I think it's just a bit nitpicky. Yeah, fair enough. 25 stones, 25 years. The only problem I have with that is at the top it has a line of 3 stones, and on the bottom it has a line of 2 stones, because you can't have it kind of asymmetrical when using 25 stones. So yeah, 25 stones, 25 years, fair enough. It's kind of a stretch of a design element, but I have no problem with that. The next one is the flag iconography. These emblems represent the first 8 countries that were home to UFC champions. Love it. I think that's a really cool historic idea to have behind the design element. I think these little kind of, what are they called? Parallelogram, is that what it's called? Or a rhombus? You know, the square that goes that way. I think they're a bit strange, going kind of around the main octagon to the plate. I think if I was designing this and I needed to incorporate colours of countries' flags, I would maybe consider putting them in rings around stones themselves. Maybe have 8 big stones on the center plate and have the rings around them different colors of paint. I don't know. It's just I think it would be look maybe a little bit better if it was more subtle, is what I'm saying. Because right now it's got different colors going around the octagon, and it kind of goes, well, it's the Irish flag, then it's Jamaican flag, and I don't know. I think there could have been a better way to incorporate these colors, but I don't have a big problem with the way they've done it. Moving on, the leather belt. Oh, the strap I could talk about all day, but I'm not going to go into too much detail. But the point they have here is a custom octagon pattern is embossed on the trim. Now, if you look closely on this design, it's a really minuscule kind of... I thought it was stitching at first when I looked at it, but it's actually a little pattern that is stamped all the way around the border of the strap. And it's an octagon pattern, but it's that small that you can't really see it. I think that's overkill. The strap itself on this belt looks terrible, in my opinion. I'm just going to put that out there. I think the leather strap on this, it's stitched together. It's got so many layers of stitching. Oh, I think it's awful. Just have a traditional leather strap on a belt. You don't need to overthink the leather itself. So that's my opinion on that. Next up, the gold buttons, the snaps. Gold button snaps are octagonal and each showcases the UFC logo. Okay, this is the most overkill on this belt, I think. Don't like this idea at all, mainly because if I ever come to re-leather this, if it's possible to re-leather, I can't do those snaps. Where am I going to be able to produce custom UFC snaps? That's not something I'm going to be doing. But I do think that is like, of all the things that is overkill on this belt, I think the snaps being mini UFC logos is probably the most significant overkill on this belt. Don't like those. Think it's pointless. It's designed for design's sake. Less is more sometimes. We'll move back to the left side plate. Okay, this is kind of where the customization of the belt intrigues me and confuses me a little bit. So the left side plate, 8 stones border the plate. For each victory in a championship bout, one of the stones will be replaced with a red stone. The date and location of the win will be engraved adjacent to the stone. Okay, it's a way to customize each belt for each individual champion. I think that is cool. I think there's a good idea in customizing belts for the holder of the belt. So it has the flag. Underneath it's got the native country the champion represents will be showcased with this flag iconography. So on the top of the plate it will have the flag that the champion represents. Okay, I might as well read the rest of it actually. Each champion's belt will be customized with his or her name and weight class. A champion may have more than one belt only if he or she holds titles in multiple weight classes. So this is more of an idea for the physical champions, the real belts that the champions will hold. So that's cool. This isn't really related to replica belt production. So the champion will have their country represented, their name, their weight class on the belt itself, as well as their victories going around it. I like that. I like the idea of engraving victories onto it. I think changing the stones is a bit strange. I get it. From far away you can see a red stone is different than a clear white stone. So I can understand that. I think it's a bit fiddly to get with a belt. Put nameplates on or something, or just engrave, like they're doing, engrave the dates and that. But I think changing out stones it looks a bit strange. As a belt designer, I like symmetry. I like designs to make sense. But if it's just red stones going halfway around, then suddenly they stop because the person lost the belt and it's back to clear stones. I think that's a little bit of a strange design element. Personally, I think the idea is okay. The stones, replacing those is a bit overkill again, in my opinion. Moving on, the inaugural year of the UFC. So the Roman numeral letters represent 1993, which is the UFC's birth year. No problem with this. Represent your history however you want. The only thing I have a question on this, on the center plate of the UFC belt, I've not seen enough pictures to actually know this for sure, but are the black parts, the leather strap underneath it, kind of similar to how the WWE's done some of their belts recently, that it's got cutouts that the leather shows through? Because if it is, are these Roman numerals attached to the leather themselves? Because there's very few photos of this belt so far, and it's difficult for me to work out just from pictures, but the color of the black on the center plate appears to be the same shade as the strap rather than what the side plates have, which is clearly painted in. So my fear is that these little letters are actually glued onto the strap itself, which I don't like if it is the case, because that would make re-leathering this a pain, and I think it's really little fiddly pieces to put on the strap. That's provided my assumption here is correct. It could be completely different. It could be just a black plate underneath, but I'm not sure. I need to see better photos of the belt in person. And yeah, I'd love to see the belt in person as well, actually. So no problem with putting the year of the first UFC's inaugural event. I have no problem with that. I think it's a cool idea. Incorporate it somewhere on the belt. But if it is on the leather, that's a bit strange. Moving on, the right side plate. So 8 stones border this plate. In the event that a champion has more than 8 championship victories, red stones will continue to represent wins on the right plate. So again, if from the left plate, if they continue past 8 wins, the red stones will continue onto the right plate. Again, I've made my point about that. I think the stone changing is a little bit silly, but the main point of this right-hand side plate is the champion logo. So a gold UFC World Champion logo adorns the middle. So this is a removable plate per belt. So it will represent or is it? A gold UFC World Champion logo adorns the middle of the plate. Okay, maybe it's not actually removable. I think it's only the other side that has the nameplate removable. The part I don't like about this belt is, why is it diagonal? Why does it sit on the side? I saw a point on my Instagram post that someone said it might be when they're holding the belt on the shoulder, that the way the belt angles, the strap might show world champion the right way. If that's the reason, that's silly. The fact that the rest of the design is horizontal and it all is in line, having one side plate on a 45-degree angle is horrible in my opinion. I really don't like that part of the design at all. I think pointless. Much better if it's right way up. If it's horizontal, no problem with it. The fact that it's on a 45-degree angle is a bit silly in my opinion. Okay, so that's all the points that this belt has shown on this kind of infograph that the UFC released. I'm going to talk about a few things that aren't actually noted on this. First of all, the little gold details in between the side plates and the center plate, the bars, I'll call them, because that's similar to what they're known as on the WWE belts, although those are more of bars. These things, not a clue what they're supposed to represent. They've not been noted on this little infographic. So it's clear that these parts are just put in there to fill a void, to fill up space on the belt. I think they've seen, okay, straight up, this belt has taken a lot of idea elements from WWE's recent belts. It's not stolen designs, but it's taken ideas. And what I mean by that is the customizability of the belt. The fact that they're wanting to put champions' names on them, stones on them, change things per champion. It is akin to what WWE does. And I'll get onto that point a little bit longer. I know this video is going really long, but this is just me talking about belts, which I could do for hours. But yeah, talking about these little bars in between the plates, I think they are overkill. They tie into the design and shape of the center plate, which I do like, but they're pointless. They are a little fiddly. On the replica belt, I think they actually have more gold on them than on the real belt, so a little bit strange that actually. Last point I want to make on this infographic is the gold and nickel tip. Horrible shaped tip and end of strap. I really don't like the cut they've done on the end of the strap. The tip design is actually okay if it was just more of a regular shape. In this kind of weird, really sharp shape, which actually is mimicked on the leather on the other side, I don't like it. If it was just gold with the nickel UFC logo, fair enough. But the strap and the tip has all these like linear designs in them, I think to represent the sides of the octagon, or although there's only 6 on the tip there, so who knows. Strange, very strange. Okay, so that's me kind of done a rundown of the belt itself. My honest opinion of it, there is a lot I like about this belt. Initially when I saw it, I thought it was horrible. Really didn't like it at all. I thought it was an atrocious looking design, but there are elements I really like. Like I said from the start, the gold on gold UFC logo and that texture, I absolutely love. The more I look at it, the more I think that design element is a lot better than it initially looked. Really well put together. Another point that they're going for is the side plates. Now, what they've done here is the customizability. If you look back at the WWE belts, the way they've done those, they have these things purposely made for profit. That is these side discs. Let's open this up. So these are John Cena side plates. Thankfully, these only cost me about £40, which I think is like $60 because I got them on sale brand new at one point when WWE Shop was doing a big sale. But I just looked up on the website just now and they currently sell them for $100 to $150. What I think the UFC was going for here, and what I think they've kind of hit and miss, is replica belt sales, which all the WWE belts now they've done is they include these discs, or in the place of the NXT belts, these kind of octagonal square type plates that will be customizable for people to purchase for their favorite champion. These things must make WWE a shit ton of money, and I think that's kind of what the UFC could have done. I think on the side plates, what would have been a better idea is having these octagons, rather than having them the shape of the plate, have those the shape of the removable side plates. Have a proper design shape to the side plate, but allow these octagons to come off and be removable, similar to what WWE does with their side discs. I think the fact that this is clearly a committee designed belt, they've basically looked at how many things can we include, like to do with the UFC's history. What represents the UFC? It's an octagon. That's what we've got. That's what our shape is. That's what our brand is. It's the octagon. I think they've focused on that way too much. The shape of the plates doesn't have to be an octagon. I think the past design of the UFC belt had it perfect. It represented the octagon a lot. It had it inside the design of the plates themselves. It didn't need to be the shape, because I think as a shape, it's too distracting. It's too angular. It looks strange around the waist, and an actual octagon. I saw the comparison to the Power Rangers Morpher thing, and it's similar. I can see why. So yeah, what I like about them is the side plates. Have those inside an actual side plate design as a removable plate if that's the way they're wanting to go down it. The center plate, what I like is the inner octagon, the one that has the stones and the flags, as well as the UFC banner. I like all that. Everything inside that is great. It's just the outer octagon shape, the gold and nickel shape. It's not to my liking. I think that is overkill as far as following the octagon shape. I think if it had a proper design, a belt plate designed around it, that center octagon, similar to what the past UFC design, could have been perfect. It would have looked great. I might Photoshop these little elements onto the past UFC design, the one that was just replaced, just to kind of give an idea of what I was saying. Obviously, you don't want to use the same shape of the old design. You could have put a new shape in there and included these design elements. But yeah, I think that's everything I have to say. Like I said, the strap looks atrocious. I don't even want to go into detail on that because it's difficult to see from photos the exact idea of the strap, but it looks like it was just stitched together by someone who's never done leatherwork, which might very well be the case. It's not a hand-tooled belt, really. It has the lines in it, but I'm not sure if those are machine stamped or not. The snap boxes are stitched into place. They've got stitching underneath each of the plates. The strap, really bad. Really don't like it. But like I said, I went through a few design elements on this belt and I do like it. It's not a home run for me. It's not even a very good belt, in my opinion. But it does have very good design elements to it. It is a swing and a miss for me. It might grow on me a lot more if I ever have one in person to look at or work on or review. I'll do that and I'll give probably a better opinion and I might grow to like it a lot more. But I think that 45-degree right side plate, the stones being replaced, and just the leather belt design, I think, is a bit silly. It's overkill for the snaps especially. So stupid. I know what they were going for, and it's not the worst belt design, but it could have been a lot better, is all I'm saying. That being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope this video was informative. It was just, I wanted to get my opinion out there. I wanted to make a lot of points about this belt, so I figured the best way to do that was to actually film myself doing it. And I know I've rambled on now for almost 18 minutes, but for those that stuck around, thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, let me know, should I do more talking style videos like this, just analysing belt designs and breaking them down and giving my opinion on them. If you like that kind of video idea, comment it in the section down below and let me know that. Thank you very much for watching. If you're interested in a re-leather, send-out strap, anything, link is in the description or on the accounts down here in the website, wherever it's up here. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.